everybody. My name's Jaril. I work at a company called Replay, which I'm very excited to tell you all about today. I first of all wanted to thank the Redwood team, Amy, specifically for organizing this. I think this is the second one. I said it's really more like I know because I stalked the first one just to know what kind of stuff I should be talking about here. And is that usually it's startups with their founders or CEOs who come on to talk about their companies. And I wanted to point out that I am neither. I am one of the founding engineers. And because of that, and because it's Thursday, and it's because it's just barely 9 a.m., I thought I'd have a little bit more fun with this. Instead of talking to you about Replay, which I will do shortly, I'm going to rant to you about my CEO, who's not currently here. Specifically about this. Help, my CEO keeps reporting bugs that don't exist. And that's the shortened version. The real version is, help, our CEO is getting mad at me because he said that our login flow is broken, but I swear it's not. I've checked it a bajillion times and it works. I've even tried it on a Palm Pilot, and do you know how hard it is to find one of those things? And one more thing. See, I'm getting riled up. Let's take a step back. I don't think our CEO, Jason, is actually out to get me, because when he files these bugs, I see the screenshot. I know things are going wrong. He has a video, but I can't make it happen on my machine. And it's not an isolated incident, because we have the exact same problem when it comes to customer issues. Can't see it on my machine. Same thing when I'm trying to push a feature last minute, and all of a sudden CI goes from green to red, and I pull it locally, try to reproduce the failures, and it just doesn't work. And here, I don't think I actually have a CEO problem. I have a reproduction problem. And if you've worked for any length in any development team, this is probably going to sound super familiar. Before we did any of this engineering, it's possible that we were naive and thought that bug reproduction was easy. I surely thought so. Like if somebody ran into a bug, there were a bunch of steps that they did to get there. So if I just copy the same thing, I'm going to run into that bug. But one, getting clear steps to repro is very difficult in the first place. Even if you did, you need to have the same environment, the same time and date, same API endpoints, same internet service, same lunar phase, same meteorological conditions. And it's bananas. It's really hard to get everything to line up. So much so that it becomes a massive time sink, and everybody knows how that feels. If every single variable has to be the exact same, wouldn't it be easier to just, travel back in time? Not that time travel is trivial, but it almost seems easier. And that's what our team has been up to. Replay is a browser recorder that creates shareable recordings for you to inspect with time travel debugging. And I'm going to dissect that in a second. The important thing to get across here is that if our CEO just recorded and reproduced his bugs with Replay, I, as an engineer, get a perfect inspectable reproduction of the bug. Because I don't have to reproduce it a second time, this thing gets resolved faster, which makes my CEO happy. And as an engineer, it's really fun for me because I have a near instant debugging feedback loop. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. Because a replay is a link. And when you open that link, you have everything you need to debug without changing tabs. You have a playable video. You have your console logs. You have your network requests. You have your elements. You have things like React DevTools, Redux DevTools. And the magic trick is that you can place console logs in your code, and it will regenerate in the console as if they were there in the first place. And 1 second. I'm clicking on next right now, and it's not working. 1 second. Is this a contrived example of a bug so that I can stop talking and actually demo our app? Well, yes. In fact, this is not actually Keynote. This is just a web app running in the Replay browser. If this doesn't look special because it's not supposed to, it's a browser with one exception. It has this record button. And what I can do is use it like a screen recorder. I know there's a bug there. I'm going to hit record. I'm going to reproduce this bug just once. I think I go all the way up to 26. 26. And I'm going to hit next, and I don't think it's going to work. Okay, there we go. I've captured it. I'm going to hit stop. And we're going to upload this so that we have a link we can share with people. It's called Partner Pitches. Only I can view this. Let's fix that. And I'm going to hit save. Now, this goes pretty quickly usually. Thank you. And at first glance, this just looks like a screen recording. This is, again, a link that you can open in any browser. It doesn't have to be in the replay browser. I can play the video. I can note things in comments in case it's helpful for the next person. Like I had a comment like here, slide 11. But where this starts truly shining is even if I can see the bug, and that's going to happen around here, at some point I'm going to have to open my code editor and start looking at what's happening in the code. With replay, you don't have to. As you can see, we have events here. We've got clicks. I know that the last click is the one where I clicked it. It doesn't move. The one before that was going to 26. And we have this blue button that is particular to replay. It's the jump to code button. And this opens dev tools like you've never seen before. Now, this gets quite overwhelming, so I'm going to close some tabs just to point out the real estate tour. You have your console here, so you'll see your logs. You can inspect elements. You can inspect React. You can inspect your network events. You have all of your source code here. I'm going to open just a simple component file, this clicker component that's in charge of moving the slides along. And you have your source code, but I'd like to direct your attention to this left sidebar here. It says 26 because this line was hit 26 times. So replay has a lot more information than anything that was previously available before. Another thing we can do here is press plus, and this adds a retroactive print statement. You can see it just like threw a bunch of things in the console. Right now it's trying to print clicker 13. I'm going to try printing count. I can see it goes from like 1 to 26. It's all there. Great. Now, clearly I'm trying to get to 27. It's stopping there. Let's take a look at the very last hit there. Right now I'm paused on that hit so I can hover on any variable, inspect it immediately without having to reload my app. Let's go back to that click event and do that magical jump to code thing. And now I'm in this page file. And immediately I'm seeing things that worry me. Well, it's called sabotage set count, for example. That sounds contrived, which is the vibe we're going for this morning. There's a set count and there's a wrapper around it. That sounds like it could be a problem. Now, because this is a full feature debugger, if you're used to browser dev tools, you can step into that function. It's also right there, so I can just take a look. And it looks like new count equals slide to sabotage, evil after CEO. Okay, our CEO is out to get me. So slide to sabotage was 27. And so when that happens, it bails if you're not holding the control key. Okay, I think I've solved it. And this is the equivalent of solving a bug. I'd like to point out that at this point, I never had to download the application. I never had to run it. No steps to reproduce. I just had to click around and replay, not even changing a tab, which means I can go back to my slides now, hit next quickly, get back to 26. I'm clicking on next. It's not working. I'm going to hold that command, click next, and for the moment of truth, it's working. And in case I haven't emphasized this enough, it's a shareable link. So anybody can do this as long as you've recorded it, which goes back to our point of only reproducing it once. Now, this is pretty much a magic trick, but it's a magic trick that's happening out in the wild. We have teams currently using it, loving it, to the point that they prioritize issues that have replays on it. Can you attach a replay as a meme at this point? Because I only have 8 minutes, I really only talked about bug reporting with replay, but because of what it can do, it's useful for other things. Another thing is CI test debugging. As soon as you know that the test is failing, if you have your replay integration with your test runners, we have the link to the replay of the thing that failed, and you have the exact same debugging experience as we just showed. The other thing is when you're getting onboarded onto a new code base, instead of just reading the code, get a replay and then start putting console logs around so you understand how the system works. And there's more to that. And again, I'm just scratching the surface because I think my 8 minutes is up, which leaves me with this. You can start debugging with replay in minutes. Go to replay.io, download the browser, and start recording your app. If you have any questions, we've got the comments. I'm also on Twitter. Thanks for listening, and that's it.
That was amazing. Let me pull up our panelists. Yoko, do you have a response or a question?
Yeah, so interestingly, recently I've been working on a lot of open source projects on the side. And when reviewing PRs, I come across this exact problem all the time. And then replay is definitely the first stop I go to kind of test out what is the bug and then share it on the PR, things like that. when I was an engineer, I kind of worked on a lot of CI bugs that were flaky. And the replay is a game changer there. So super excited to kind of see the demo again today.
Yeah, if you ever want to see a developer like crumple into pieces, just tell them about flaky tests. And immediately there's a visceral reaction there. And this is specifically surgically designed for that.
That's awesome. Keith?
Yeah, Jaril, super cool. So what comes to mind is production versus, say, development. Is this able to be run in production also?
Yes. So the replay browser is just a browser. You can record anything. The problem is what you end up recording differs between production and development.
Okay.
One big thing, for example, is source maps. If you record production apps, then everything's minified. You can't really make sense of things.
Sure.
Unless you're feeling sadistic that morning, I would suggest that you upload your source map separately, which we have documentation for. So that's not a problem.
Right on. Cool.
Awesome. Jayesh?
Yeah, Jaril, flaky tests, you said it. I mean, this is going to go a long way in keeping engineers sane. So I'm excited to go back and try it.
Yeah. Let us
Awesome.
know if you have any feedback.
Thank you so much, Jaril. This is wonderful. Just a huge asset for developers. And we really do appreciate you being part of the RedwoodJS community.
Certainly.